Do you need me to speak up?
Yeah, still a little low, but
It's time for us to sit down at the table and turn this chaos into something stable. For love, one on one. We will not accept defeat, not on our land, not in our streets. Getting it done. Reaching out to save the youth, letting them know the truth. Slim Nation is where good conversations dwell. Positive affirmations well make a strong nation as we spread the love. Slim Nation is where good conversation.
well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Slim Nations 101's podcast. I'm Slim Overton, and we have a special guest with me this morning for our 101s, and it's going to be Portia Bryant, and she'll come into the camera pretty soon. Doing that intro, I guess she stepped away for a minute, but
Good morning. Good
she's
morning.
my guest this morning, and she's no stranger to the shows that we have here on this airways. He's been on Portsmouth Coffee Talk, another show that we do with two other hosts, and Aaliyah Greatstead and Thomas the Colonel Chapman. She's been on that along with her children, and she's an author. She's written a book, and you can see the book behind me there. And what would God do? And we're going to mention that for those who have yet to purchase the book and read it. And what else she's doing? She's a multitasking person. I keep up with her. I follow her, and seems like it's always something on her page, always something going on. But that's the way to go if you want to reach people. And I think that's her purpose
The
here.
sound
And
is
I'll
breaking up
let
just a
her
little bit.
explain it. But her purpose here is to reach as many people as she can through the Word of God, by any way she can, through her artistry or whatever way she can. So I'll let her talk about it. But good morning, Portia. How you doing?
So, good morning. Your audio is breaking up quite a bit, and
Oh, is it
all I
really?
heard was the
Okay.
last bit of what you said, and I'll let her. And so I think you said, all right. It
Okay.
seems as
Don't
though
let me see. Make
it
sure my
jumped
connection
back
is
in,
okay.
but
Let me make sure my
yeah.
connection is okay.
Okay. So
I
I'm
might have
thinking.
to. Okay. Is it a little better now? Oh, seem like we have a delay here.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
With your video
Let,
sometimes.
okay. So I don't know what's going on, but we'll try to work our way through this. And first of all, for those who haven't purchased your book yet, give us a brief, tell us briefly what your book is all about and who you are trying to reach, and then you can tell people how they can purchase the book. And let me ask you first, how the sales going since you launched your book?
Well, they go very well, extremely well when I have a speaking engagement. Um, and that's where the sales follow and flow. Then I sell out all the books that I bring with me in those times. But outside of that, I need a better marketing program for the book generally. Otherwise, it's like hit or miss online without me being in person. So
Right, and plus you have all these different other activities you're doing. So I guess it's always a work in progress trying to get the word out about the book. Uh, and who exactly you're trying to reach with the book?
Hmm. So I am trying to reach those who are who are believers and have an interesting time. I'll put it that way, an interesting time with relating to their emotions can trip us up, get in the way, cause us to pause, sometimes for too long. And so this book is made to help people to walk through the valley and instead of setting up tent. So yeah,
Okay,
so
thank you. And
the book is for people who are interested in taking care and management of the emotions that we all were intended to go on an experience here on this earth. And as we're experiencing emotions, we have to be able to experience them in the way that will lead us to a place of abundance instead of a place of defeat. And so I
very
recognize
well.
that the fruit of the spirit, uh, uh, spiritual nutrition by the fruit of the spirit helps us to get there more efficiently.
Yes, and that's a good point. And I want to go on to, oh, well, before we do that, tell people how they can get to purchase your book.
All right, everyone can purchase my book on Amazon or Barnes and Nobles or um, thrift books, different places online. Shout out to me on Facebook, and I make deliveries as well. So wherever I am, my Portia Evelyn Harrigan Bryant. That's Portia.
Well, that's great. And I'm still concerned about the connection here because I guess I might be going in and out with you, and you're going in and out with me. Do you have? Can you go to your phone? I think you're on your computer right now. Is it possible for you to go to
Yes, I
your
can go to
phone?
the phone. Yes, when
Because
I went to the
I had
phone,
someone
I love.
I had someone the other day,
I
and
can
we
do
had
that
the
now.
same issue, and they went to their phone, and we had a much better connection.
Okay, we can switch platforms.
Yeah, just go to your phone and come on with your phone, and then you can just turn off the computer. And while we're waiting for Portia to do
Okay,
that,
it says to join a studio, so I'll put the.
while we're waiting for Portia to do that, to so we can get a better connection. And we're waiting on her, and we're glad to have Portia here to talk about her book and all the many different things she's doing here in Hampton Roads. You'll probably be quite impressed with all, how talented she is. I believe she's also a minister. She's a performing artist, and she'll talk about that. And she is involved in women empowerment and has quite a few events coming up where the focus is on women and their role in many areas of life. So we're looking forward to having her talk about that. And let's see, in the meantime, while we're waiting for her to come on, hopefully through the phone to get a better connection, might have to contact the platform, the people that I use for this platform, and just to see what's going on. And I think she's coming back now. Nope,
Nope,
that's me
that's
again.
me again.
Okay. So we'll continue to wait for Portia to come back on through her phone, hopefully. And it gives me a chance to let the people watching know that it's important. We're coming on in election season locally and nationally, and especially pay attention to your local elections. And looks like in all the cities in Hampton Roads, we have quite a few candidates that'll be throwing their hats in the ring to run. Of course, the deadline for people in the city of Portsmouth to throw their hat in the ring is June 15th, I think. I have to verify that date, but it's in June, and in the first 1 or 2 weeks in June, and then you'll know exactly the amount or the number of people who are running or who's running. Right now in the city of Portsmouth for city council, I think it's about 11 people running for the city council seat, three seats, and of course the mayors. And the reason is 3 seats. You have two incumbents, and the vice mayor is running for mayor uh, against the present mayor. So whatever happens there, her seat, uh, whether she wins or loses, her seat will be vacated, and so that leaves another council person, another candidate to take that seat. So it's about 11 people going for 3 seats, and I think it's 5 on the school board. Most of the incumbents running for re-election. So you have quite a few people. I'm not sure the number that are going to run for that. So make sure you just take time, and time is going by fast. When the summer gets here, and the deadline and the official candidates will be listed, then you'll have the time until November to sort of vet the candidates and try to get to know the ones that are running. So we have our guest back.
All right.
How is the sound now? We still
Yeah, it's perfect on this end.
okay? And looks like maybe the connection might be better. So let's go ahead and continue. And just to repeat a little bit, the last thing you said, you were talking about your book and where people could get it. And I think that message got out. What would God do? And let me ask you this first, and you talked about it on our show before. What inspired you to even sit down and write that book? I know you've always been a spiritual woman. You are also a minister, and so you had you could get up there and preach the word without the book, but you had a little bit more you wanted to say as far as personalizing what would God do. So, where was the inspiration or the motivation? Where did that come from as far as you getting together, putting pen to paper, and writing your book?
Well, it was a process along the way. So my background is therapeutic counseling for children with behavioral and emotional challenges. And along the way, I also work with adults who have like schizophrenia, major depression, and just some emotional challenges. And I realized that all of humanity is even the adults and working with them. I realized that they have this inner child is the same person I was working with in the school system. And so what everyone has in common is that they need to feel loved, safe, and connected. And while I was developing interventions, I recognized that when in asking that question, why do people with behavioral and emotional challenges act and behave the way they do? Uh, I realized that it's a spiritual malnutrition. There's spiritual malnutrition. Spiritual malnutrition from where? The fruit of the spirit. There's an area in life that we're lacking in love. There's an area in life that we're lacking in joy. There's an area in life that we're lacking in peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self control. And if we check our levels in all of these areas of fruit in our lives, we'll see where we experience abundance and where we experience a deficit that leads to depression, that leads to infiltration of anger, low self esteem, fear, self doubt. We have a spectrum of emotions to contend with as we're walking forward to live out our destiny. And so the book has all nine fruit of the spirit to help and teach you how to. Each chapter is how to walk out love, how to walk out joy, patience, peace, kindness, goodness, all of them from the coaching perspective. I call it a live coaching perspective of Christ, where he gives a reflection on how he was able to model that here on earth, even in the face of difficult people, times, and situations.
Wow, and as we talk about inspiration, I want to go back a bit, and you growing up young in your family. A lot of people that become ministers or spiritual in nature or Christians, uh, it starts early in their family, and many times you don't have a choice. Your parents might be Pentecostal, they might be Baptist or whatever, and you see a lot of that in your young age growing up. And then a lot of people are exposed to that. That seed is planted, and then it might be that time in between where
Right.
the child wants to experience other things, through high school, through college, or whatever, or just life in general. But that seed is already planted, and at some point,
Yeah.
it continues to grow, and it grows and manifests itself into you being a spiritual adult or a pastor or continuing to spread the word. Was that your experience? And then some people that never have that, but during their life or a life experience
They come
might,
up.
they come to God through something tragic or something great that happened to them.
Mhm.
But many people have that seed planted early in their life. So, how was your experience there, being a young girl growing up in your household? Was that the case?
Well, definitely, my grandmother had a huge influence on my spiritual development, and I thank God for her because she wasn't a sometimes Christian. She was a all the times Christian, and this is very important for people who are coming to faith to see consistency. When you see people who lack consistency in their relationship with God, and it causes you to also falter, or you see a falling away when, say, a pastor has sinned and decided to do something else, and then the church disperses, and there's that foundation is not there. And so my testimony is that my grandmother growing up had been my rock in my faith, and to this day, and she's just a dynamic individual. She's an evangelist. My uncle is also a pastor, her brother, and I'm just, I was cultivated
Like many
in,
of us in
in,
cultures,
in,
and like
in
I said, some of us have that little period where we question,
yeah, yeah, yes,
our faith or the faith that was that we grew up in. Uh, from my grandparents, and you said your grandpa was an all time. I mean, she wasn't just part time; she was 24 hours. So everything that came up, probably the God was mentioned. You scrape your knee, oh God will take care of it. You know what I'm saying?
hmm
So,
I heard her prayers in the midnight hour. This
yeah,
was this is a live experience for me. So I
because
understand.
I remember I had a neighbor that stayed across the street, and when my parents went out of town, I would stay there, and she was I'll use the word, but you don't hear as much. She was a sanctified woman, and when I would go over there, and I was a little guy, and when I would cry, for whatever reason, kids cry for. First thing she would do is come over there and put her hands on my forehead and pray. And I always joked about it. I said I didn't know if she was praying for me to shut up. God, please help me shut him up, or she was praying for me to get whatever was bothering me out of me. And I think the latter was the case. So so I experienced that kind of thing too. So I thought that was interesting because many of us go through that. And I want to get to your activities, but one last question. And you kind of mentioned that about sometimes preachers might disappoint, and we see that, and with the internet and everything. A long time ago, we knew that was going on with some preachers. That might be out there faking it, just for they say they weren't called, and but they saw it as a way to make some money. And we might see that a lot now with the internet and people being exposed for certain things and using the church as their way of uh, getting what they want and not spreading really spreading God's word. So if you were counseling someone that, and it's a lot of people that see that and they have doubt about you know anybody else that's preaching the gospel because of the few people that might, if you were counseling somebody, how would you convince them to really take the time and look at the whole picture rather than looking at the few people that gets the most exposure when they're doing wrong, and that's all they see. And then when you try to tell them the right way, they are not trusting you because of what they see in real time. How do you what would you say to convince them to to be more open to the truth? I'll put it that way.
Yeah, so I am a person who is scientific in nature. So I like to have tests that will help me to understand a life and the world and the earth. I realize that Jesus, hands down, is the perfect archetype for living. This is not debatable. This is throughout the earth, throughout all of the countries. We recognize that Jesus is the perfect archetype for living. And that is so because he's other centered. He's other centered. And so when we base our decisions and choices and who is our role model, who we look up to, we base that on the perfect archetype for living, not people who were trying to be like him, but we lean on Christ. We lean on Christ, who is the rock. He won't disappoint when it comes to his character and what he stands for in reference to being our safe haven in times of trouble, being that one who is our advocate, our intercessor, our everything. When we take for a moment to log our experiences in prayer and try for a moment to to be still long enough to also hear back from what God is saying, because prayer is a two-way conversation. What we sense in our spirit, people who cross our paths, whether it's divine encounters, God speaks various ways. We have to pay attention, and as we're documenting this from a scientific perspective, it helps us to understand the reality of who God is and his existence.
Yes, indeed. And now I want to go into all these other things that I was talking about earlier that I don't know how you fit all these things into your life. And by the way, how is Peyton and Braylon?
Oh, they're doing wonderful, wonderful, about to wrap up the school year. So we're trying to merge on over to what they'll be doing for the summertime, and that's always an exciting adventure for moms as they are finding programs. I guess dads too. They're the ones finding programs for their children. It's an exciting time. So
Yes,
I'm
and for those who don't know, they are her children, and they are also authors. And sometimes when you lead by example, sometimes your children follow. And I think the last time we talked, even your husband is looking into putting some
Putting
putting
pen
his
to
life down.
hmm
How is that going? Is that
so he's had a couple of things in the midst. He's gotten his CDL, so he had to take a little pause and put some time in the study for that test. So he's gotten that. So I know he'll want to wrap back around to jumping in there and seeing where he left off.
yeah, I understand how that goes because it takes a little while because I'm doing the same thing. And I started out really aggressive and I sort of other things came in the way. So it's a work in progress. Anyway, excuse me. Talk about your active women networking. That seems like something that uh, well, just explain exactly what it is and what do you all do and what's the purpose of it.
Well, the activated women.
Activate.
Yes, Activated Women is an organization founded for women who are entrepreneurs and those aspire to be so. And so I'm the ambassador, and we have monthly gatherings so that we can offer support and training and love to the women. And we have two speakers each month, as well as a theme of the month. This month's theme is success stories. Um, Senator Angela Williams will be one of our speakers, as well as uh, Joya Tynes. She will be also on one of our speakers, and they will be speaking on the topic of success stories, telling their story as well. What we need in the world of business and entrepreneurship is affirmation. And it's beautiful when you have women who come together and we are not afraid to motivate, encourage, and support one another along the way. So we have an opportunity to introduce all the women and what they have to offer. There's a lot of networking that goes on. We have hors d'oeuvres and nice food that's going to fill you up as well. So this is a beautiful thing to be involved with activated women. Yeah.
I, I think that's so important because, you know, whether a lot of us men want to admit it or not, the women are the backbone, and they have been throughout our history, the backbone of everything that goes on in our lives. You know, uh, and often through the history, they haven't always gotten the credit. You can go all the way back to the civil rights movement, and where most of the men got the credit, but it was the women in the background there doing the yeoman's work
Mhm.
and being an inspiration even for those men, but they haven't gotten the credit and having an opportunity to spotlight these women that many of us know about, but especially for our younger women to see how
Yes.
how powerful these women are, you
Right.
know, and the messages they give. Even the young men, you know, need to see this because we all have mothers, and you know, and keeping that respectability of women uh, that we so often see that's ignored. You know, women, all women should be respected. Excuse me, I don't know what's, but even in the news today, when you see the Diddy thing and how the disrespect comes, but you know, but before that, you know, he had a lot of respect.
Yeah.
You know, but little did we know in the background how he was disrespecting women. So
Right.
you need to show, you know, I think what you do is with the women coming out showing how strong the women are and
Right.
not showing, you know, just all the news is about the women being abused by this man, you know. But
Right.
not everybody's gonna sit back and take it. So how long has this been going on? Is this something you do uh, and I see you having Senator Williams, and she actually is a member of my church, Grove Church, and you know we are very proud of her. And I watched her rise from city government into the state government, and no telling where she might go from there. So,
Yeah.
how often is this something that is it a weekly thing? I think you have something
Monthly.
weekly that you do on Facebook or.
Well, on Facebook, it's a podcast called Sisterhood Chronicles. That's something that's separate from Activated Women.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Sisterhood Chronicles. It was just a podcast. My best friend, she wanted to start. We've been best friends since we were 12 years old. We decided to start that because we recognize that there is a group of women who need support. She has a special needs child,
Mm,
and she's a special needs advocate, as well as we are just doing life together. We're doing life together. In the process of doing life together, there's a lot of topics that come up that women have to sort through in their minds, process through. And it's great to be able to process together. Women are able to interact and get new perspectives and resources for their concerns, and be able to laugh as well. We ended
mhm.
off on a segment called "Would You Rather," and so that's always a great time. So that's every Wednesday at 8 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
That
And,
now,
and what, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was saying that's Sisterhood Chronicles.
Okay.
Activate.
And so that's something good for men and women to watch. I always, when we have these women programs, I always encourage men to watch because, it might be geared towards women, but sometimes we need to watch so we can better understand where women are coming from in many cases. Because some men don't. They don't understand. They have it's sometimes it's the way they were brought up in the household they were brought up in. They have a one-sided view of what a woman's role is or what a woman is all about.
Yeah,
And
we talked
sometimes
about.
and it's a lot more complicated than you may think, so
Yeah.
it's amazing. So you have Senator Williams on the activated women. So how much do you get into the politics of it when you have these discussions? Because especially now with what the Supreme Court is doing, trying to take away the rights of women to even control what they do with their own bodies, and 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 even when you can going into the medical field when Black women, especially uh, childbirth is you know something that it's been problematic because of the medical field doesn't look at the same way at the Black women as they might look at someone else. When the Black woman tells them something is going on or I feel pain, oh, you can take the pain. And that goes all the way back to slavery. That's another story. But you
Yeah.
know, how much do you get into the political part of it as far as having those discussions and what can be done to make policy changes
Right.
or to
So
fight against these people that are making policy changes, that affect women,
yeah.
especially
So
Black women.
definitely, and so we are a voting population. Activated women are definitely a voting population, and our conversations. We just hope that the conversations spread, and that's how the community learns through conversations. And so I realized that with a woman's right to choose, I am pro life. Pro life. I am for life with babies and infants and children and Black people and people. I'm for justice, and when it comes to justice, and we're talking about life, I see it from a heaven's view as opposed to just looking at it. Okay, this is what's going on with this woman's body at this time, and if she can't go through with this pregnancy, then I look at it from a standpoint of what's going on with it. I have a I've heard of a lot of stories of women who've had health complications that people just don't consider, and they're quick to judge and not understand that there was a husband and a wife over here who had to decide between his wife's life or bringing this child into the world. Like there are some decisions that I don't believe the government should be in control of concerning a woman. That's just my take. Well, we have real conversations about things concerning life.
Yeah, I think most people are pro life, and I think it's just it's a little bit more complicated than just black and white. And that's
Now,
where some people they're on one side or the other, but it's a whole lot more involved in those decisions that are made. And then sometimes when you try to make policy, that just goes, it's sort of one-sided there, and it doesn't consider all the different things that might come into play
yeah,
as far as making a decision whether you want to
yeah,
terminate or not, or whether you should. You know,
right.
uh, the
Now,
heavenly thing, like you mentioned, it's we're supposed to bring life into this world. That's the way we exist,
yeah,
continue to exist. But
hmm,
sometimes things complicated. I mean, it's not a perfect world.
right.
And I think that's where we get confused. Everybody has these different opinions, and then it's kind of convoluted. I mean,
Hmm,
so
yeah,
you don't really know what the issue really is. But these policies are being put in place by the Supreme Court and things like that without considering some of the things that you just mentioned.
right.
So I guess it's good for people the women to be able to express that, in a form like you have put together.
Right.
So I
Otherwise,
want to get into the. Go ahead.
oh,
I'm sorry.
I was saying, otherwise, people just go on assuming if they don't have knowledge and they don't know anyone, they will assume, just like I do. I don't believe that anyone should use abortion as a form of birth control. You
Right.
know, repetitive
Hmm.
like that. I'm not for that. My heart is for the heart of the woman who is going through a difficult time. And it could be with her own health complications that matter to, that people don't understand the health complications that can come with bearing a child for 9 months.
Yeah.
And some people's bodies aren't strong enough. There's a lot of gray areas that aren't as easy as that black and white, just as you explained.
Yeah. And some of the greatest people in our society have come by, and I don't want to use the word by mistake, but unexpected
Yeah.
pregnancies.
Yes.
So and just imagine if it was unexpected, and you just said, "Well, I'm not going to have it," just
Yeah.
for the sake of not having it,
Yeah.
and you take away that
I look.
take away right.
I'd be remiss to say that Braylon, my son, he was a miracle child.
Mm,
Two doctors told me that my body wasn't strong enough to have the child, and they said that I shouldn't get pregnant. And it'd be a long story for me to get into exactly what happened that made me go on and go through with going getting pregnant and having my son.
mm,
um, you know, Braylon was a special child because, uh, God sent a messenger to let me know. Cause I asked him, I said, if Charles and I have another child, would it be a boy or a girl? And he quickly said, it's a boy.
mm,
It's a boy. He's a boy. And so I was not going to not go forward with my pregnancy because I already knew who he was. And the thing is that I wasn't pregnant yet. I wasn't
mm,
pregnant yet. And the Bible does say God knew us before we were in our mother's womb. And so I knew I needed to have my son and I would be okay. Uh, that was my personal relationship with God and the message that I received. But everybody is different, and we are always in the wrong when we put everyone um, on the same playing field because everyone is different. We are all unique, different fingerprints and different life situations and all of these things. So we have to be very sensitive to humanity, knowing that we have an individual walk to walk out. But I do want to take a moment and what we're talking about, just to, thank God for my son.
yeah.
Uh, he is a miracle child.
Yes, indeed, he is. Yes. So let's get into you're a performing artist. That's one
Sure.
of the hats you wear. And I remember talking to you before, and you threw that in and said, "Wait a minute, performing." I mean, you had already told me enough you were doing, and then you said you're performing artists, and I think that started, because I guess through school you were always involved with plays or things like that, or whenever you had the opportunity to show
All
off
church.
your gift.
For me, it was all church. For Peyton, my daughter, it's been a blend of me having her in different platforms regarding church, community, and now she's a governor's performing
Yeah,
arts student as well, performing arts academy. So she's more polished when it comes to her what she does.
with the
For
formal
me,
training, yes.
yeah, she has formal training. I don't sing opera, and I don't read different languages, but well, I do a little
Mm.
bit, just Spanish. But I will let you know that the church had a huge influence on my confidence building, as well as the holy hip hop community after my uh, let's see, after my sophomore year in college, down here in Hampton Roads, I was on the front page of the Daily Break, and
Hmm.
the title of it was "A Holy Hip Hop Movement." So, a lot of those things have shaped me, and I can't let it go.
And that's a good musical genre to be in,
Yeah.
especially when you talk about reaching a lot of people, and young and old, because a lot of us now, you take my generation, I mean, I started out being in college in the 70s, and that's when the hip hop generation kind of really started. So we're still kind of into that, the
Hmm.
rap game, even though they think you age out of it, but you don't really age out of it.
Right.
But
Look,
it's a good place. It's a
in
good
my
place to start with the young people.
definitely, and then what I realize is that it's for all ages, because it's poetry. It's
Right,
poetry,
right.
poetry, spoken word. That's what I do. And so as I look at the one of the stories that I expounded on in my book, where Jesus takes up for the adulterer, I recognize I titled it "How to Avoid Being Influenced by the Crowd," and that's what Jesus had to contend with. And so I wrote a little bit of a spoken word for it, which is through all the inconsistencies, God help me to love more consistently. Furthermore, I know you know what's best for me, to give life, love, and live more compassionately. A grace extended to the sinner, proven adulterer. Crowd demanding, they're behaving like the monsters of. She done wrong, stone her now. What do you say, Lord? Cannot condemned to draw my hand to graze upon the sword. So if you're perfect, just please just cast the first stone and remind me when you're sitting high up on a throne. A simple statement to remind the people we're all equal. Emancipation Proclamation speaking, we're the people, a heart story. I love taking times to reflect on God's word through spoken word.
Yes, and coming a different approach, coming to it. And when I heard it, the term spoken word, I just mentioned going back to the 70s and being in college. That's right before rap started. It was more like a spoken word. You had people like Gil Scott Heron and the Last Poets and people like that that were through that spoken word. They were giving out a message, and then it kind of turned into rap. But the spoken word is something that people, it's a way to express yourself, and really throw some Bible teachings in there.
Yeah.
First you have to capture the audience, and then you can feed them.
Yes.
And I think that's probably what you do. So talk
Yes.
about some of the events that are coming up that you're involved with some other artists here in the Hampton Roads area. I think you have something coming up next month in June, and basically at the churches.
Yes, June 21st, I have an event coming up locally. And that information is found on the flyer on my page. Portia Bryant, Portia Evelyn Harrigan Bryant. You can find that on Facebook. As well as I'll be traveling out of town to Pennsylvania to perform at Liberty University And it's in recognition, I believe, not only Juneteenth, but also on the life of Harriet Tubman. And so I'll be reciting spoken word and singing up in Pennsylvania the second to last week of June, as well as we'll see if some extra additional paperwork gets signed on the jazz festival at the end of the month, where I was
Oh,
asked to take part in the marketplace as a TED to give a TED talk, as well as to facilitate a panel. So that'll be the last week of June. Yeah. So then I'm also speaking on a panel on June June 10th, and helping to facilitate a men's health fair at the Renaissance in Portsmouth on June 12th. I was asked to be a part of that. So
oh, wow. Okay. Right in my backyard. So, and Men's Health. So, and that's June 12th. Is that
from five
a
to
ticketed affair? Do you have to register? How do we attend that?
You don't have to register. You can just show up. This is 5 to 7 at the Portsmouth Renaissance Hotel. Um, the first 25 people will get a gift certificate to I don't know, to Walmart. To they're giving out some. Oh, they increased it to the first 50 people. So just get there. Be
Mm.
try to get there as close as 5 as you can, so that you'll get a card where you're then to navigate the different stations, and you'll have get them hole punched or checked off that you went to that station to in
Oh,
reference to participating in the health fair. So
oh, okay. That's and what's the title of it again?
that's the it's a men's health fair. I don't exactly remember the theme of it. I do have it here, and I can put it on your page. So when this is all done, I can send the flyer to you. I think I've already sent you the flyer, so maybe you can.
Yeah, I think you did. I think you did. So, yeah, and I'll do that, and I'll post it again on my page, and probably mention it again. And
Yeah,
if, if
the
nothing comes up, I'll be there. I'll be there because that's
the,
definitely something that
the
I'm
testimony.
interested in, making sure men are aware of their health and
Yeah, the
listen to their body's signals. And I hope they have something there concerning the heart,
yes, they
which
do.
is
They do.
okay, which
They
is
do.
something that I went through. So.
Yeah.
Um,
The
yeah,
testimony
yeah,
of it is that they save lives on the spot. There
right.
were people who didn't know that they were struggling with, said, complications, but they were able to discover it at the health fair.
Yeah, yeah. And the first thing is to know your health history.
Yes.
So yeah, and you're right. Some people, men might be standing right there,
Yeah.
a time bomb, a ticking time bomb,
Yes. Yes. And
ready to explode and not know it.
so what I think needs to be explained also is that one of the stations is prostate examinations, but it's not the traditional way of that men
Blood
are
test
afraid.
now.
Yeah, blood
Yeah,
test. So no one has an excuse anymore. We don't have to be males don't have to be intimidated by a glove, but rather you get a little blood drawn, and you're able to have your prostate checked that way. And so
yeah,
God made a way so that
yeah,
you can be healthy without intimidation.
yes. Of course, it just came to me. Yeah, that's the two gentlemen that you sent my way that we had a conversation about that very
Yeah,
event. So. Yeah, that's going to be a big event, and thank you for being, involved with the women, of course, and as well as the men,
yeah,
because we both need each other, and we both need to be healthy. And I always say to the men, even if you don't think about how your health is going. Think about those who depend on you, and not necessarily financially, but depend on your existence.
Right.
Think about them. Think about your children, your brothers, your sisters, your mothers, and your family, and your friends that depend on you, and would be very sad if you were no longer here. So if you're not thinking
Over,
about yourself,
over,
think about
over.
those who care
Yeah.
about you,
Right. Especially when it's something that could have been prevented.
especially when it
Yeah.
could be prevented. And that's what it's all about, being proactive, in your health, making sure that
Yeah.
you're here for the people that love you.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, thank you for coming on, and I'm glad we got through the bad
Yeah.
networking in the beginning and able to hold this conversation. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and to know about all the different things that you're doing uh, to help others. And I always say, when you're helping others, you always help yourself because you always learn from the things that you're trying to teach others. You know,
Right.
and I think that's a good way to walk through life. And we appreciate you here, and we continue to follow you. And I thank you for following us on our different platforms.
Hey, look.
And we've always watching your children and their growth, uh, and just to see them start out so young and expressing themselves, not only expressing themselves through vocalizing it, but putting it down on paper where it's there forever. And it's going to be amazing for you to, or for them to sit back or grow up and look back at how their mind was operating at age as a teenager or as a 7 or 8 year old, you know, and see the growth that they have made, in that. So I think
Definitely.
it's so important that you start early. I look at my granddaughter and she's 6, and it's just amazing to me, where she is right now at 6.
Hey, look how quickly six happened.
Yes, yes. And then, the knowledge that they have
Right.
so much exposure to things, and we also have to guide them on what they are exposed to.
Right. Right. And I'd be remiss to say, the June 1st, I believe is this Saturday. The three of us, Peyton, Braylon, and myself and my children, we all have our own tables at the Arthur Expo in the library in Portsmouth. And so, if you ask me what the address is and which library, sadly, I don't have the flyer in front of me and I don't remember, but I do know it's in Portsmouth and it's the Arthur Expo. It's Googleable, as well as you can DM me on Facebook and I will get that information to you so you can check out the Arthur Expo in Portsmouth this coming Saturday.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It might be at the main library, but it could be possibly at the Kirtland Library. So we'll confirm that and make sure people are aware that if they want to meet all three of you, and I would tell people it's an experience to meet all three of them. You'll just be amazed. You know, we've already impressed by the mother, but you'll be equally impressed by the two children and it's sort of encouraging when you see, and we need to show this more than headlines that most people see, that, and especially people that see it that don't really know us as a race, and
Right.
all they see is the bad headlines, but don't know that we have some amazing children coming up. And,
Yeah.
and, and this is not new. It's pretty much the norm, in our families that our children are amazing. So we
Yes.
just need to make sure they get the exposure they deserve. And so we'll get that out there and make sure people come around and this Saturday. And I hope it's downtown. I think it's going to be downtown because they have the market thing downtown every Saturday, and there's plenty of people down there already.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope it's at the downtown main library where
Mm-hmm.
you all will be, because it's just because we go down there a lot on Saturdays. It's the farmers market.
Right.
I don't know if you ever been there on the Saturday, but you have
No. Yeah.
people coming from all over Hampton Roads to that farmers market. So it's a very good opportunity. But
Yes,
Portia,
sir.
again, thank you. And I'll just say now, if you have any last words, I'll let you do that now. some parting words?
Yes. Through all the inconsistencies, God helped me to love more consistently. That spoken word is one that's inspired by one of the stories that's in my book about women, about Jesus, how he interacted with the woman. But at the end of the month, when I go out to Pennsylvania for Liberty University, I'll be sharing with them. I shared my real big dreams with my family. My visions, my goals, my dreams. This is not my show. They threw me in the ditch, try to kill the best of me. Stole my coat of many colors that my father gave me. A daily fight to believe, dream, and have no doubts. But all around, I wanted love of a family for me. But all I needed was to believe that God believed in me. Many times I want my family to be happy for me. Heartbroken when I found out they was plotting on me. Sold me out, now I'm hurting, that's the human in me. Refused to let the struggle kill the passion. It was more than a dream. Harriet for the struggle. I was called for the pain. I was called be the muscle. He told me get down on my knees. Then I got down and prayed. When it's time to fight, stand up for your dream today. Dogs and guns, they're steadily coming at me today. It takes a lot to break me down, snatch my God-given dreams. Part waters, forge ahead. Faith is better for me. You can call me young Moses. This is bigger than me. Bigger than me.
Oh wow! Now you all see why I'm so impressed by this young lady and what she has to offer. So make sure you follow her on Facebook, her page, and all the different activities and events that she will be involved in.
Right.
Very talented young lady and very godly lady, and we appreciate you here on the Slim Nation 101's podcast. And thank you for being our guest. Take care.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. And everybody, thanks for watching, and we appreciate you. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and share these shows that we have here. We'll see you next time. And remember to be aware, be informed, and most of all, be involved. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
It's time for us to sit down at the table and turn this chaos into something stable. For love, one on one, we will not accept defeat, not on our land, not in our streets. Getting it done, reaching out to save the youth, letting them know the truth. Slim Nation is where good conversations dwell. Positive